whatever. That's not even.
Oh my gosh. Those short weeks got me like, what?
And that was Calendar Corner, brought to you by Calendars.
And there's the Saints who are 1-5.
Falcons fans, what's up, and welcome back to another episode of Friday 5. I'm your host, Will McFadden, joined by Tori McElhaney and Terrin Waack. We are coming off of an incredible, exciting, exhilarating, all of the adjectives.
Ooh.
I think I used incredible 100 times
in the intro.
In Falcons Final Whistle, so I'm going to refrain from doing that. Again,
a little
plug
late for that.
for Falcons Final Whistle. But an amazing win against the Buffalo Bills. Another big primetime game on the docket against the San Francisco 49ers. And so this show is going to share with you the 5 things you need to know going into that matchup. But up top, as we are going to do from time to time here, we want to talk about the social question that you can check out on TikTok for the Atlanta Falcons account. Players are asked a random question each day. They provide their answer. So our random question is, if you could only eat one meal, Tori, for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
I think pizza is a really easy one. Like, I could eat pizza at any time of the day, but it would be like meal, pizza, and ice cream, because I can eat ice cream at any time.
Yeah.
Do you want an appetizer?
I could do an appetizer as well. Yeah, maybe to get some green in, like a Caesar salad.
Guys, this says one meal, not a 3-course meal. All right?
My meals have appetizers.
What are we doing here?
And
All right,
desserts.
I choose Golden Corral. I get the buffet.
and
All
a
right,
nice
that's my
glass
one
of
meal.
wine.
Yeah.
Terrin, what's yours?
Apparently, we're eating full meals here. I would go do Surin of Thailand, and I would get the crab angels to start with the coconut soup with tofu as my app. Then I would get the Penang curry with steamed tofu, not the go-to fried tofu. And for dessert, a Thai tea martini.
Thai tea martini.
Ooh, I love that. I would just go with like a simple breakfast sampler, right? I just want some eggs. I want like some pancakes. I want some
bacon.
Yeah, like I'm just I will eat that. I pretty much do eat that every single day. So that will do it for our social question of the day. We are now going to turn to a quick overview of the NFC South. We are a third of the way through the season. It's always kind of trippy how they've changed the number of weeks. It's always hard to catch up, but third of the way through the season. Terrin, you got an update for us on the NFC South and how it stacks up?
Yes. To no one's surprise, the Buccaneers are in the lead. They have a 5-1 record overall, and they're 1-0 in division. That divisional win obviously came over the Falcons in Week 1. Then you have the Falcons in second, who are 3-2 overall, 0-2 in the division, followed by the Panthers, who are 3-3 overall, 1-0 in the division. That one win did come against the Falcons also in Week 3. Then you have the Saints, who are 1-5 and have not played a divisional game. And there are no NFC South matchups in Week 7. So the Falcons are the only team that have played more than one divisional game.
Good Lord.
Oh, yeah, well, and sometimes it do be like that. Tori, is this how you expected the division to kind of be shaping out?
A little bit, yeah. I think that we knew that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the team to beat. But not just that. I think what we've learned over the first 6 weeks of the season is that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are actually legit contenders. They are not just the team to beat in the NFC South. They're the team to beat overall. I know that there are a lot of power rankings going into this week, Week 7, that had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as the number 1 ranked team in all of pro football. So I really think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I've said this before, but they're the ones that are setting the pace for the NFC and the NFC South. But what's interesting about that is that they're not blowing people out of the water. I know that they just beat the San Francisco 49ers, which we're going to get into that game in a little bit, but they just beat them, 30-19?
Yep.
And which that is honestly their largest margin of victory through the first 6 weeks of the season. And what's funny is like everything else is by 1 point, 2 points, 3 points.
And the margin wasn't that large the whole game.
And the whole,
Against Tampa.
Exactly. It wasn't until the very end.
Against San Fran, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of the Baker Mayfieldness of it all. They're doing enough to win every single game that they're playing. They are taking what I think is like these moments in time that can kind of change the pace of a game, and they're capitalizing on those moments. They kind of have this like clutch gene that you always feel like one team always has every single year. I feel like it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now.
I feel like if you looked up clutch gene, like Baker Mayfield's face right now would be the like main thing that comes up, because that's a great point. But Terrin, we knew Tampa Bay was always going to kind of be in the mix for the NFC South. Carolina, I gotta be honest, like they're not a team I necessarily saw coming, or at least sticking around for as long as they have. They beat Carolina, but do you think they beat Atlanta, but do you think Carolina is here to stay the rest of the season, or do you think they may fade back to the pack?
Can all their games be played at Bank of America Stadium?
That's true. They win every one.
Aren't they undefeated at home?
I believe so.
I think that's where
in like the craziest fashion.
Yes.
Yeah. With
historic rushing numbers. Rico Dowdle looks like Todd Gurley circa 2016 or whatever. It's crazy.
Yeah. I wouldn't underestimate them. I mean,
we saw what happens if you do.
Exactly. If you somehow are able to take that home mojo onto the road mojo, then they might be an actual contender in the NFC South too. And there's the Saints who are 1-5.
They I think are very close to just being like, all right, we'll see you next season, Saints. They've been tight in some of their games, and Spencer Rattler actually, like, it's totally understandable if you haven't been paying attention to the Saints. But he has been playing pretty well.
The Fighting Spencer Rattlers?
Yeah, the Rattler Snakes are doing a little bit down there. They got to take some hill back. They, big times down in New Orleans for them. Let's move on to the 49ers, and the Bucs played the 49ers this week. As you mentioned, they continued winning 30-19, but Terrin, what stood out to you the most about kind of this game once you started digging into it about, what the Bucs were able to do?
Gosh, there were 3 key stats that I pulled. The 49ers were 7 out of 16 on third down. No bueno. They had 9 penalties for 65 yards, which was way more than I think the Buccaneers had 6. Yeah. And then they lost 2 turnovers compared to the Buccaneers 0. And it was 2 interceptions from Mac Jones. 1 turned into a touchdown and 1 turned into a field goal. So again, as we talked about last week with the Bills, they had 3 turnovers and it turned into 10 points. And they only lost by, 1 point? That was so far long ago. It was a year ago. And then now...
It was a whole year.
And now you have a team, granted, 30-19, even if those 10 points are taken back, it's a 1-point game, but still that's a lot. You feel different if those turnovers don't happen. You always feel different if turnovers don't happen. So I think those are the 3 areas that the Falcons can capitalize on, like turning the ball over. Well, not them. Forcing turnovers.
Winning the turnover
margin.
Yeah.
Getting them off the field on third down.
Yep.
And then you can't really force them into penalties, but make sure you play clean. So if they don't, they're the ones losing that battle too.
Hey, if they line Felipe Franks up in the quarterback sneak,
maybe they can't.
He's like as good as Aaron Rodgers is at getting people to jump.
Absolutely
the turnover margin is a great point. The 49ers are +1 in the turnover margin in their wins, -6 in their losses, right? So if you can force a couple of turnovers, you got a pretty good chance. And I mean, it was really the late turnover, Tori, right, in that game that sealed it kind of for the Bucs. Yeah. They missed a field goal, were able to come back and capitalize and get the field goal. But otherwise, Tampa Bay and Atlanta are different teams, very different teams. Atlanta doesn't have a Baker Mayfield, but
they have a Michael Penix, though.
Right, but Tampa Bay doesn't have a Bijan Robinson.
Right, yeah.
Right, so what can we pull out of Tampa Bay's kind of blueprint performance against San Francisco and use?
So I read a lot, I watched a lot, and I think the main thing, and I don't want this to sound cliche because I genuinely believe it, but to me, when it comes to what the Falcons can learn from what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did against the San Francisco 49ers is that the game in the trenches, that's where it's going to be won. But I think that's exactly where the Falcons should want it to be won, is at the line of scrimmage. So I'll start kind of with what I learned about the way that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive line played the offensive line for the San Francisco 49ers. They struggled to run the ball, which with Christian McCaffrey is not something that I think anyone is used to. It was the blocking up front was a bit like Christian McCaffrey was getting hit kind of 1 yard into his run. He had 17 carries for 54 yards. In total, the San Francisco 49ers only had 67 total rushing yards. Mac Jones was sacked, I believe, 6 times. Like this defensive front for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers really made things difficult for the 49ers up front. Now, switching on the other side and talking about kind of what Tampa did offensively, by comparison, it really wasn't a fantastic day for Tampa Bay running backs, but that's really not why I thought that Tampa Bay's front was playing well. It was actually based on that Baker had so much, I felt like Baker had so much time in the pocket. to throw.
Yeah.
I felt like he was kept very clean.
Tristan Wirfs played great in this game.
I thought so too. There were a lot of explosive plays within this game for Tampa Bay through the air specifically. I actually went back and I looked at it. For every single Tampa Bay player who caught a pass from Baker, they had at least one explosive, so 15 plus yards, at least one. And I think they had 6 or 7 different guys who caught a pass from Baker Mayfield, all of which had an explosive.
That's
every
huge.
single one. So Baker was able to move the ball in these big chunks, and supplementary run game kind of helped him out. Baker scrambled a few times, as we've known him to do. But I think that to me is indicative of what the front was doing protecting Baker, because as we talked about previously, you need time in the pocket in order for those routes to develop downfield.
Yep.
And he was protected, and he was accurate within those deep ball throws. So I think those are the two areas where ultimately, as I was looking back, I was like, if you're the Falcons, winning up front is the game you want, but also the game that we just saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win because of.
Okay. So, I sticking here for a second, because you kind of have made me wonder about something that we haven't yet seen from Atlanta's offense that we really expected, which was kind of this vertical element, right? And if Christian McCaffrey, I'm looking next-gen stats, minus 18 yards rushing over expectation. So that would be a normal running back in a similar situation. He got 18 fewer yards. So, Tampa Bay's defense was locked, or Tampa Bay's defense was locked in against the run. But I kind of think that Atlanta can really have a lot of success against, San Francisco's defense through the air, deep. What did you learn about that when you were looking into the matchup?
Yeah, I think that it all has to do kind of with that downfield accuracy, of which I felt like Baker had. I felt like he had a very good understanding of where his open receivers was going to be. And with Michael Penix, that's something that even when he was going back to that Carolina game, that Michael Penix was even like, I have to hit my open guys. Yep. I have to hit my open receivers. And we saw him do that against the Washington Commanders. We definitely saw him do that in the first half against the Buffalo Bills. And I think that this is a really good opportunity, seeing what Baker Mayfield was able to do against this secondary for the 49ers, that was open for him. That was available to him. So what can Michael Penix do with that opportunity is something I'm curious to see if that ends up being the game plan. But also understanding that you still have Bijan Robinson,
for sure,
who you hand the ball off and he's somehow getting 15 yards a pop. So it's the trade-off of kind of pick your poison, which is exactly, again, where the Falcons want to be. They want you, if you're going to load the box, they want to be able to let Michael Penix's arm loose. If you're not going to, they're going to hand the ball off to Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, and have them do what they do best. Yeah.
Absolutely. Terrin, Tori mentioned the trenches and kind of, I think Atlanta's defense is going to be well primed in this game to kind of slow down Christian McCaffrey. They were very good against James Cook, and the game script helped there. But flipping to the other side, Jake Matthews. He is left the game before halftime, didn't come back, is dealing with an ankle injury. What's kind of the latest on him?
I actually came straight from open practice to this podcast room and noticed that Jake Matthews was not out there. Today is Thursday, and yesterday, Wednesday's estimated injury report said he was not a participant.
Okay.
You don't see that from him, because normally if you see anything, it says rest day, veteran rest day, not injury related. But I'm curious more so about tomorrow's game report, Fridays, when this episode will come out. This will come out in the morning, so the game report will come out in the afternoon. But he's had 183 consecutive starts.
I know.
I wrote an entire 1,000+ word story about how he is Mr. Consistent. Even if he doesn't take a single practice snap, I would not be the least bit surprised if he takes the field on Sunday.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, and somehow, some way that streak comes to an end, everyone was very happy with how Michael Jarrell played. Jarrell himself said he felt comfortable. It took a minute for him to get warmed up and in the moment. But when I was talking to Chris Lindstrom yesterday in the locker room, he was saying, it's tough. It was the 2-minute drill before halftime that he has to come out hot and pass pro. And he held his own. And Jarrell has a history of being a proven backup in this league. So it's not like you're putting someone who hasn't played significant professional reps into Jake Matthews' shoes. But what was funny, in the locker room after the game on Monday, I asked Jarrell, were those big shoes to fill? Like, could you tell they were big shoes to fill? And he's like, yeah. You know, everyone out there's like, who's this guy filling in 70 shoes? Like, there was a little pressure there, but.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's literally like impossible to imagine a Falcons offensive line without Jake Matthews in it.
It's weird.
Because he has been in it for 183 straight games. So, Terrin, the Falcons aren't going to be the only team, though, dealing with the injury situation. What is the latest on the 49ers and their many, many injuries that they're dealing with?
Go to the 49ers website, click injury report.
No, go to our website and click injury report.
Yes, do that too. Go to all the NFL teams' websites.
All the websites.
And you'll notice the 49ers is the longest injury report out there. There are 18 players.
Do you have to scroll?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
No, it's crazy.
And I was like doing the mental
long.
math. I was like 18 plus 18 is 36 plus 18, and then I lost it. So I was like, so it's about a third of their 53-man roster is on the injury report. But I know you don't care exactly about the numbers. You want to know who. And
maybe just the biggest names.
Brock Purdy, first of all, is TBD. I'm curious to see what the injury report Wednesday says, whether or not he's practicing.
Yeah, because he was limited on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today's Wednesday. No,
Thursday.
today's Thursday.
Today's Thursday.
Oh my gosh. Those short weeks got me like, what?
And that was Calendar Corner, brought to you by Calendars.
Okay. Anyways, well, let's start with those who are officially out.
Okay.
Nick Bosa has been out. Fred Warner is now out because he had that season-ending ankle injury last week. Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall are TBD. They said they might practice this week, and we'll see like how that goes. But returning to practice this week was for sure George Kittle and Jordan Watkins. But that's 4 big names on the offense alone. And then you're missing 2 huge names for sure on the defense. And then there's still everyone else on that list. I mean, Mac Jones is also limited this week. So you have both of your quarterbacks limited. It's a tough one.
So not to cut you off,
no,
but
it's okay.
I do think that this is going to be a very interesting week for Atlanta to face San Francisco because of all the injuries you just named, but also mainly because of the pieces that they could get back.
Yep.
And I think that there are a lot of variants that we could see from this 49ers offense based on how these guys are progressing through practice.
That's challenging if you're Jeff Ulbrich, right? Like kind of preparing for this.
Yeah, because there is a difference, let's be real, between Brock Purdy and Mac Jones. Even though Mac Jones has been holding his own and winning games for that organization, but getting George Kittle back, Ricky back, like, you know, Ricky! Like, maybe it is one of those things where I feel like Christian McCaffrey over the last few weeks has had to carry a big load, whether it be catching the ball out of the backfield, running the ball, et cetera, et cetera.
I'd like to extend a hearty thanks on behalf of my fantasy team for that, Christian. Thank you so much, man.
But they've had to rely so much, I think, on him that now if you see that Brock Purdy can potentially come back, you think that George Kittle can potentially come back, that changes the offensive scope of who the 49ers are and what they're doing in Kyle Shanahan's offense.
Literally asked Jesse Bates about that today, where it's like you're basically preparing for 2 different offenses. Like, as you said, Brock Purdy offense is different than a Mac Jones offense. But then Jesse's like, no, you're not. Well, he didn't say it like that, but he said
you're preparing for Kyle Shanahan.
Exactly. He's like, they're gonna do the same things. Just the people are different, and the talent level is different. He did say though, if George Kittle's out there, you know they're gonna want to get the ball to George Kittle,
and George Kittle is gonna want to get the ball. Did Jeff Ulbrich yesterday talk about what did he kind of talk about in terms of like what the game plan is for the Falcons defense?
Yeah, you know, like understandably, he was asked a lot about kind of just like the excellence on Monday night. But there was a little bit of the question specifically about the quarterbacks towards the end there. And he said that there's not a ton of difference with Brock Purdy and Mac Jones. Like, generally, you're going to kind of envision the Shanahan type of quarterback where, like, you run a lot of bootleg, you run a lot of play action, you kind of point and shoot and just hit the receiver when they're open. However, when I was watching the Tampa Bay game, I did get the sense that Mac Jones could be a little bit more susceptible to maybe some of the disguises in coverage that Atlanta also really likes to run. You're talking a lot of, like, I was a little bit floored by who was it, Dawson Knox that caught the touchdown for Buffalo, because it was a really well-designed and beautiful kind of concept that I think they just lucked into the perfect play on. But Jesse is they disguise it as like a cover 4 at first, and then which is 4 deep quarters that you're covering there. And then Jesse rolls into essentially a cover one robber, which is one safety comes down in the middle of the field to take an in-breaking route away. And Josh Allen makes a great throw. So I would expect to see a lot of that against San Francisco. And I do think that if Mac Jones is in there, you could see a few more turnovers, which are going to be key on Sunday, as opposed to Brock Purdy. So that's where I think that the difference between those two guys, even though Jeff Ulbrich is going to say they're the same, because, again, that's how they should approach it, it could be a big deal out there.
Yeah, the biggest thing, too, that I think Jeff Ulbrich talked about was, like, covering Christian McCaffrey. I think he made the comment, he was like, everyone's going to have to cover him at some point. Everyone's going to be on him at some point. Everyone's going to have to look him in the eye and tackle him at some point, because that's how the 49ers use him. It's similar to Bijan. He is kind of the engine of what the 49ers do and want to do. So I think that is how we move forward thinking about this San Francisco 49ers team as well.
Did you just say Bijan and Christian are alike? And I'm definitely stealing Will's transition.
Go for it.
But I was like, oh, this is a perfect way to set it up. You said that, though, right?
I did say that,
Okay.
yes.
Well, they are.
Oh, you don't say.
And this stems back to last offseason when Raheem Morris flat out told the media during the offseason that the Falcons want to utilize Bijan Robinson just like the 49ers utilize Christian McCaffrey. And then Bijan doubled down on it. Fast forward a year, and Bijan and Christian spent a month together training in the offseason in California. And at that point, Bijan said, he taught me a whole bunch of nuanced moves that I got to learn on the field, and I did the same with him. Could you imagine being a part of that conversation?
Oh, it'd be great.
Like,
I would love to be a fly on the wall on that.
oh,
Yeah.
it'd be fascinating. Like, how are they comparing moves? Like, I just want to know. But anyways, yeah. Oh, and I do have a stat to go with it.
Oh, yay.
Christian and Bijan are the only two players in the NFL who have had at least 100 yards from scrimmage in every single game this season.
Impressive.
Okay, now I'm done.
That is crazy. And yeah, I mean, Christian has been an amazing wide receiver this season as well for the 49ers. So that's kind of what Brick was getting at as well. It's like they're going to figure out any possible way to get him the ball. And if he's running a route, he's probably getting the ball as well. And if they're handing it off to him, he's obviously getting the ball. So he is one of the best in the league for a long time going. Bijan is on a totally different level this year. It's kind of like last year was a breakout year. His rookie year was a breakout year. And this is somehow, again, a breakout year for Bijan Robinson. He's on pace, I believe, to set the all-time record in yards from scrimmage. And just the way he does it looks so smooth and effortless. Tori, how does Bijan do this?
So funny that you ask. So now on AtlantaFalcons.com and Atlanta Falcons YouTube, you can actually see a project that we have been working on since, I think we pitched it back in December of last year. We sat down with Bijan and some people in the Falcons organization in April, May. We've been researching, doing all this different stuff, myself and Jenny Ross, who's the editor for the feature, and it's called Art of the Juke. And it is kind of a passion project for what Bijan does, like what his passion is as a runner and what he embodies as the modern example of how to use the juke and how to be elusive as a runner and how to make people miss. And so this project is twofold. It is a video feature, which really dives into the artwork of it and what makes him so special in the roof cam videos. And we actually sat down with Bijan for like 30 minutes and went through all of these different clips of him juking people out and why he did what he did and what he was looking at and how he made it work. And then my editorial feature, which you'll also be able to read on AtlantaFalcons.com, is
And should.
Thank you. But it is kind of a look into the art, the science, and the psychology of what he's doing, because Bijan Robinson is actually as nice of a guy as he is a master manipulator on the field against these defensive guys. I mean, I go through this whole thing about like fighter pilot decision-making technique, how much ground force Bijan is taking on his body when he goes from 20 miles an hour to 0 to change direction and make a move. Like
it's real like sports science stuff.
It is. Yeah. If you used to watch that show back in the day, like
R.I.P. John Brinkus.
Yeah. Like it was that was kind of what I was going for when we even pitched this back in December. It's like I want it to be very sports sciencey. So what makes Bijan so special and so different than anybody else playing football right now? And I'm so excited for this project, and I really would love you guys to check it out, both the written and the video feature.
Did you get into his recovery of it all? Like how he recovers from the forces he's putting into his body?
So not necessarily the recovery of it, because what is funny is talking to some of our strength and conditioning staff. They're like, he's actually a very rare athlete in the way that his ankle joints, knee joints, hip joints, the flexibility of which he has in his body, they're like, he's this really enigma of a physical athlete because he can take on so much force. He can hit such a significant miles per hour. He with his breakaway speed, and he has this contact balance that is something that to a certain extent you can't really teach.
Well, it's kind of like how Michael Phelps was just perfectly somehow engineered to be in a swim.
Yes.
Yeah. It's no doubt he's as good as he is, because it's these three differences between a normal human body,
right,
quote unquote, and his body are these perfectly aligned areas to help him move quickly in water.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's what Drake London said in the post-game locker room on Monday. Straight up being some humans are just born as athletes. Bijan Robinson he was talking about.
Yes, literally. And then he also added, what he does is art. I think someone said it's poetry in motion. There are just you can wax poetic about what Bijan Robinson does on the football field, and we had the chance to do that with this project.
Yeah, it's really, truly an amazing story, feature. Go check it out. Bijan is the best doing it in the NFL right now, and this is an incredible look at how and how the Falcons are benefiting from it. So they now have one more opportunity, I think, to make a statement, right? Mm-hmm. They were on the national spotlight against Buffalo and kind of opened, I think, the NFL world's eyes to just what they can be. On Sunday, they have a chance to kind of right maybe the last wrong that they had, which was, hey, you did it against Minnesota, and then where was that against Carolina?
Good point, yeah.
And coming off that Buffalo win, it's as high as I've felt this fan base in a long time. I need to see the team keep that same energy on Sunday. So, Terrin, how do they go about doing that? What have you heard from players and coaches, and what's kind of the vibe in the building?
I mean, it's a question I've posed to multiple players where you can't avoid the fact that the situations right now are very similar to weeks 2 and 3. Big primetime win, road game. Big primetime win, road game. How do you make sure you don't have what happened in Carolina happen in San Francisco? And the resounding response comes down to mainly 2 things. Each week is its own week, and lesson learned, kind of. They talk about how that Carolina game was an anomaly and just throw it out the window and things like that. But I don't know that they necessarily have. I think they remember because you don't want it to happen again. Even if they said they had a great week of prep, something mentally might have not been there, because you learn from a loss and you learn from a win.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really interesting too, and I believe it was Michael Penix who said this week, and because he was asked that exact question, and he made the comment. He was like, you throw that out. That's not who we are. The same thing. Zach Robinson talked about it. That wasn't who we are. We didn't put our best foot forward. It's an anomaly. Everyone has said that about that Carolina game. I think this is the opportunity going out to San Francisco to prove that right. To prove once and for all that Carolina game was not who you were. It was a flash in the pan of, whatever. That's not even, that's what it was. And it's not going to happen again in the same kind of context of what happened in Carolina. I think that is where you currently sit right now. Okay, they've been saying that all week long. They've been saying it since it happened. You throw it out, you throw stones, it's an anomaly, blah, blah, blah. But you got to show us that in San Francisco to make us believe what you're saying. Actions speak louder than words, the old cliche about that. And honestly, too, if anything, do it to stay in step with the Bucs, because if they keep winning, the Falcons have to as well.
Yeah. Absolutely, and San Francisco looks like they are going to be right there in the thick of the wild card race. There's a lot of reasons why a win on Sunday night is going to be very important, but chief among them is that this is the next thing that Atlanta really needs to prove, right? Because the good teams, they don't just not lose back-to-back games. Take that, Bills. Maybe you're not a good team because we did it to you, but they keep winning streaks going, and they don't ebb and flow, right? They keep that level high, and they stick it to every single team, and they bring it each and every week. So thank you guys so much for checking out this week's Friday Five. I hope we brought it. This is a reminder to check out Art of the Juke. You can find it on AtlantaFalcons.com, on all of our social channels. We'll be sharing it out, so you won't have to look very far, but please share it with everybody who is a Falcons fan in your life or just enjoys incredible once-in-a-generation type of athletes, because that's all, or great human beings, because Bijan is that too.
Just share it with everyone.
Just share it with everybody. We would really appreciate it. Anything else that you guys want to say before we get out of here?
I fell coming up the stairs on the way in here.
I love that. No. Man, we should have led with that. What are we doing?
Just remembered.
Oh.
Are you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and end on that note. But be sure to check out the pregame show an hour before kickoff on Sunday night. Until next week, everybody, take care.